The Calgary Flames want to avoid another Johnny Gaudreau situation with Elias Lindholm. So, how can they do it? Who are some comparable contracts? And does re-signing him really align with the team's mission?
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and I'm so happy to be here talking about your Calgary Flames today and every day here on Locked On Flames. Today, we are going to be talking about Elias Lindholm. We're going to be taking a look at Shayna and Julian's article from The Athletic and kind of dissecting the comparables, what the projected contract looks like, and of course, just my opinion on how the 28-year-old Elias Lindholm lines up with the Flames' mission to get younger. But before we dive into that, please make sure that you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts, and we are free on YouTube. So come stick around, hang out with us. We're here for you, your team, every day. So this is just a hypothetical situation, right? We don't know if Elias Lindholm is going to resign. We don't know if he's going to get traded. We don't know if he could potentially walk next summer, but these are the things that we talk about leading up to the contract extension, the possibility of one, right? Because that window opens in less than a month. So Craig Conroy has some time to, whip up some numbers and do some talking with his people in order to, get the ball rolling on this, because it is this is a big contract. So of course, contracts, let's just preface this with the obvious. Contracts can age badly. That happens. We've seen it a number of times. I don't want to pick on Milan Lucic because I feel like I've picked on him enough as a host of this podcast, but that is a contract that, although the Flames took it on, it aged very poorly. Players are entitled to walk away. Johnny Gaudreau walked. That is what happens when you reach unrestricted free agency. That's just, you've earned this. We talk about it all this time on the show, but you have earned that agency to go out there and see what the market is, to see what other GMs and teams will offer you. And according to Julian McKenzie and Shayna of the Athletic, we are looking at an 8-year term with an $8.7 million average annual value. This was projected by Evolving Hockey, and it's great that they all work together to put this together for us because, I think a lot of people can look at this and say, well, these are numbers that I think he should be making, and these are numbers that I wouldn't pay him. And then which we're going to do in a few minutes here, is take a look at the comparables. But the $8.7 million is a lot, right? That would be 11% of the current salary cap, which is the second highest behind Jonathan Huberdeau. I do think that is a lot of money. And I'm just going to say this for the first time this episode, because I'm going to repeat it. You have to spend money in order to build a team. It does not matter if your team is bad or if it's good. You have to spend money. You are shelling out money to employ these people to win you a Stanley Cup championship, right? So don't act like, well, he was only making $4.25 million, so why should we double his? Because he is the best player on your team, the best forward on your team. He is one of the best two-way forwards in the league, and he provides a lot to that top line. And Craig Conroy said it himself, no matter, where he slots in the lineup, he is going to make an impact. And he mentioned, as time goes on and as he gets older, he will still, make a difference when he's moved down in the lineup. He is just a very well-rounded player, right? And I feel like you can look at a lot of contracts in the beginning and say, wow, that's an incredible overpayment, right? But as time goes on, you're like, okay, this is looking more and more reasonable every day, because that's just how the market works. I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't do numbers. I don't do math. I don't understand inflation and how everything works, but I just know that it's all relative. Okay, just give me that. But don't immediately write this off and say, well, 8 years, $8.7 million is a very long time. Yes, but re-signing Elias Lindholm for 8 years is going to do something for your organization that you're going to have that you're like the best line in hockey leave your organization. Like, look at it that way, okay? The Flames had the best line in hockey 2 years ago. And they said goodbye to Gaudreau and Tkachuk in one summer. And then Lindholm the following year, or I guess technically 2 years. But is that, ew, that's icky. I don't like that. And I think that should put a sour taste in everyone's mouth, really, because that's, it says a lot about the organization and the faith of the players, and in my opinion. But is this something that the Flames can do? Is this something that Elias Lindholm wants to do? Does he want to raise his kid in Calgary? Does he want to spend his, probably the rest of his career in Calgary? These are just things that you have to think about. And we, as fans, don't get to decide if players want to stay or if they want to go, because I was so confident that Gaudreau was going to be re-signing. And then what happened? That didn't, I can't say. I could give you 100 reasons why Elias Lindholm, okay, I shouldn't say 100. I could give you 10 reasons why Elias Lindholm could want to stay in Calgary, but I could also give you another 10, 15, 20 why he could want to go elsewhere. And that's not a knock on Calgary. It's not a knock at all. It's a stick tap to the rest of the NHL and what they can offer a player of Elias Lindholm's caliber. But coming up next, we are going to be talking about comparables, and so thankful for Evolving Hockey and the folks at The Athletic for putting this together, because I appreciate anyone that can do this kind of math, because that is not for me. It is very difficult. But let's take a quick break and let me talk to you about our friends at eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay's guaranteed fit, you can make sure every part fits the first time around, and just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green checks to know if the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop with eBay Motors, with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when all the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, at the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guaranteed fit only, available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. And thank you everyone so much for sticking around with me today. I I just threw up Nick's nameplate by accident if you're watching on YouTube. Nick will be back tomorrow, and we're going to run through some coaching resumes if the Flames decide not to do anything else. But the biggest thing here, right, looking at any player who is, kind of due for an extension, you want to look at the comparables. You want to see who this player plays like, who is in this class, and what did their deal look like? What did it what were they able to get out of it, and also what was the team able to get out of it? I like the comparison to Dylan Larkin. He signed an 8-year, $8.7 million deal this past March with Detroit. He signed in the middle of the season too, which was pretty cool, I think, because it gives fans a little bit of peace of mind, gives you peace of mind. It takes less work and stuff you have to do over the summer, right? It takes care of you and sets you up for the future, which also matters in all of this too, right? So through 80 games at that point when he had signed the contract, he was 32 goals and 79 points. That's pretty good. I would say, we'd kind of kill for a player like that on the Flames. And, you can get that with Elias Lindholm. And the one thing that stood out the most to me was the fact that Dylan Larkin's lines are still young players that really aren't up to par with the Flames' current wingers or the possibility of who they are calling up. It's players like Pelletier or Matthew Phillips if he resigns, or Jamie Poirier. There are still options. Matthew Coronado, there are options for the Flames to pair with Elias Lindholm if things, for things to get better. Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear my music in the background. My neighbors are outside on their balcony blasting music in a rainstorm. Certainly a choice. But anyways, you're going to see better production from Elias Lindholm this coming season. Last season was obviously a down year for everyone. I'm not dogging on any of these players and really holding them to the brimstone, throwing them under the bus, whatever the term is, mainly because we know how horrible of a situation it was. We don't know the full extent, obviously, because that's not how any of this works. But we are under the impression and the understanding that things were just bad from the get-go. Markstrom was coming back off an injury. Chris Tanev was coming back off an injury. Huberdeau and Weegar had to get settled into this whole new lifestyle in a new market with a new coach, new teammates. Rasmus Anderson got hit by a car. Jonathan Huberdeau was not playing. He played hurt. There were plenty. Jacob Pelletier literally got benched. It was a brutal season. The team has said it. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And when you have all that bad luck and bad stuff going on, and you have a boss that doesn't connect with you, isn't offering realistic solutions, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to dig yourself a deeper hole. And that's why, again, I have such a hard time saying Elias Lindholm will never be a 40-goal scorer ever again. Because I don't believe that to be a true statement. I think Jonathan Huberdeau is one of the best playmakers in the league, and you set him up with a pretty good center like Elias Lindholm, you're going to have some success there. And It's just a matter of, I think, Elias Lindholm refining his game a little bit and, adding the finishing touch, or the Flames finding a finisher, because they had that with Gaudreau and Tkachuk, and it wasn't a problem. Another player is, of course, Bo Horvat, who, people feel like everyone that has, had anything to say about Bo Horvat in general, it's negative. But he has consistently played very well. The Canucks traded him because he wasn't going to re-sign long-term there. As simple as that. And again, this contract is the same. I believe I didn't write it down. That's my mistake. But I think it's just about $8 million, if not a little bit over. But is there truly a difference when it's $700,000? It's not. To me, it's not that big of a deal. It's pennies to these people. It's pennies. But people are upset that he didn't want to resign, or that he is an Islander and that Lou Lamoriello invested all this money in a player. And I thought that he played pretty well. I thought that he did pretty well in the transition from Vancouver to Long Island, but it looked like he had more confidence in his game. And I mean, I probably would too, after leaving a dumpster fire of an organization that just, they had the whole issue, not even the issue, it was not an issue, but Bruce Boudreau being strung along, right? Remember that? That's not a good environment to be in. And Lou Lamoriello said it himself. If people are going to say that the contract is too long and it's too much money. He said, such is life. Such is life. You have to shell out money for high-end talent. And that is true. There are not many players that are going to take this hometown discount or a team discount just because it benefits the team. Players are probably going to become more selfish, especially as the cap rises. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, team-friendly deals are team-friendly deals, and they're appropriate at times, but you shouldn't have to shortchange yourself, But back to Lou Lamoriello's comment, you do have to spend money to win, and winning just doesn't mean just the cup, right? Because you have to win in order to get to the cup, right? And I'm not talking just one playoff run. Year after year after year after year of consistently making the playoffs, seeing some semblance of success is important to a team's confidence, to their reputation, to the players. It speaks to the players' ability, the coaching abilities, even if there is a coaching change, we're bound to see that again in Calgary in 2 to 3 years. It is nature. It's the nature of the beast. And I do think that if the Flames want to win, they have to spend money, and they have spent money. But now it's time to lock up your best player. Or is it? Because 8 years is a long time. Do you know where you'll be in 8 years? And thank you, everyone, for sticking around with me, Jess Belmosto, on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following and subscribe to the show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm here for you, your team, every day. And this team, I wrote an article about this over the weekend because I feel like the Flames were in, I wouldn't say a similar spot, but they were in a transition period when I started covering this team. Mark Giordano, was he going to be traded? Was Sean Monahan going to be traded? Was Johnny Gaudreau going to be traded? Was Sam Bennett, what was the deal with him? And of course, TJ Brody walking in free agency, and there were a lot of questions surrounding the team. It is an entirely different roster. It is a different front office. And the team now, if you want to retool on the fly, they have the opportunity to do that. And again, 8 years is a long time. Yes, no one out here is denying that, right? Like 8 years for a contract, it feels a little icky, right? But do you know where you're going to be in 8 years? I don't even know where I'm going to be in 6 months from now, right? Like you have to think about it that way. Like, yes, it is a long time for a player, but think of how many life changes you go through in 8 years. And I don't have an issue really with the Flames signing him to this extension because you need veterans to win. You need solid two-way forwards to win. And you just need to remain competitive. That is the thing here. They have so much money tied up in older guys and a lot of money for a long time. And do you want to add to that? And can you still make this team younger, but still remain competitive? I don't think you can do that without Lindholm. I don't. I think that if Lindholm signs, it's going to be for 8 years. Would it make sense to just sign him for 6? I don't think that he would ever just sign for 6. But, you can get creative with these deals because that's just the way life is. That is the nature of the game. And I think you have to be creative if you are constructing this contract because, do you want a full no movement clause for all 8 years? Do you want to have some sort of modification? Like you really have to be flexible here. And Craig Conroy cannot fumble this bag. He cannot. Because you know what? This is going to be his legacy potentially. I mean, I think his legacy is coming in after Daryl Sutter was fired and being like, we're going to have fun. And, Elias Lindholm was one of the players that had reportedly asked for a trade and then rescinded it once Sutter was fired. And I think that sends a really strong message to the organization. Some players don't. It's not about loyalty. It's really not. It's about doing what's best for you. And if Elias Lindholm sees staying in Calgary for the next 8 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever the case is, as beneficial to him and his family, then that's what he does. I can't sit here and tell you why Calgary would be beneficial to Elias Lindholm. I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I don't know what his family needs. I don't know if he needs to see a doctor, or his wife or baby need a specialty doctor. I just think that the Flames are in a position to either set themselves up for success or to completely screw themselves. And I don't think that this contract will be fully screwing themselves. I don't think that at all. I think that if they don't make the most of this opportunity, it will absolutely come back to bite them in the butt because who are you going to have replace Elias Lindholm as a two-way forward and as a goal scorer? Who on this team can do that? Because you're not bringing players in. You're not just flopping contracts. That's unfortunately not enough right now. And the Flames don't have enough cap space. If the cap had gone up $3 million, $4 million, yeah, they could get flexible. And that's the other thing you have to think about down the road too, is will $8.75 million look as bad as it has the potential to do once the cap goes up? I don't think so. But again, to me, these are just numbers. We have seen teams get creative with cap space. We have seen teams get very unlucky with no cap space. It is truly a matter of what Craig Conroy and the rest of the Flames organization make the most, like what they make of this and how they execute it. And again, that could be really good or really bad. Some have immediate effects, some have like long-term effects too. So pick your poison. I truly think that they should extend him unless like there is this ridiculous offer on the table. I don't know. I don't see that happening. And I know people keep talking about the Columbus pick in the first round, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And that's just my opinion. Again, take it for what it is. But that about does it for today's show. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today on this lovely Tuesday, or whenever you're listening to this. My name's Jess Belmosto, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto, and stick around here on Locked On Flames, wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. That way, you know when the latest news breaks, and the most opinionated person you know will have something to say about it. So until next time, I'm signing off. Nick and I will be back tomorrow to chat about coaching resumes, and word on the street is he has a pretty cool slideshow going for us. So hope to see you tomorrow.